and welcome back to Rugged Mountain Homestead. My name is Sarah, and I want to thank you so much for being patient with us as we have been buttoning up the homestead the past 2 weeks and doing some things just to be prepared this year for the winter that lies ahead. And then also we've had some things to deal with, such as this. When we went on our hunting trip this year, Dean got a buck, and this happened on our way to the processor to pick it up. But all that being taken care of now and ready to move forward with the season, we are in the kitchen today, and I am making sandwich bread. Sandwich bread that we use here on the homestead. I think sandwich bread is different from bread that you just bake in an open pan. I do bake our loaf sandwich bread in a Pullman pan. And a Pullman pan is a bread pan that has a lid on it. It just slides back. The purpose of this is to give you a more uniform shape and to minimize the browning the top of the bread. And it also makes it easier for me when slicing it up. But I love being able to have our own fresh made sandwich bread. It's just one less thing that I'm dependent on the store for, and it does not take me nearly as much money to make a loaf of bread as it does to purchase one. I also don't have all of the preservatives that are in prepackaged sandwich bread that can have that bread last for a month or more. And this bread does not last that long, but we don't need it to. And it's much better for us. So let's go ahead and get started and let's make some bread. Okay, so when we make bread, the first thing we're going to want to do is proof our yeast. So I'm taking half a cup of really warm water, and I'm going to add 2.5 teaspoons of yeast. Now, a lot of people don't buy their yeast in bulk. They might just buy those strips in the store. And so for this recipe, it would be one package of the strip. But 2.5 teaspoons is what's going to be in that little baggie. So we use 2.5 teaspoons of yeast. And to that, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar. Okay, I'm not going to stir it up or anything, but I'm going to just put this bowl now in a warm place, and I'm going to let it just sit in a warm place for 15 minutes. Now, when I say a warm place, whatever area that you have in your home that's draft free, just because of how cold it is out here today, I'm going to go ahead and put it in my oven with just the oven light on for the next 15 minutes. Okay, so now after 15 minutes, your proofed yeast is going to look kind of foamy. And that's exactly how you want it to look. So the next step we're going to do is that we are going to add our flour. Now, the flour is where you're going to come into not an exact science. That's where your elevation, your weather, and all that comes into play. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to start off by adding 4 cups of unbleached flour, or you can use whatever type of flour that you have. I'm taking mine by the half cup increments. I'm now going to add 1 tablespoon of salt. And 1.5 cups of water. Now I'm going to take this over to the stand mixer and go ahead and put the dough hook on and let it knead for a few minutes. Now it's at this point that you're going to want your dough to start pulling away from the bowl. And what I mean by that is that you don't want it to cling to the sides. It's not too tacky, it's pretty good, but we're going to add a little bit more flour. I just add a little bit at a time, and this is where you start kind of eyeballing it, and once it starts pulling away, we'll be done with this process. Nice. That's exactly how I want it to look. So when it's drier and more humid out, you're going to have a less sticky dough. And we don't have much humidity here, but that's nice. A little tacky still, but I'm going to add flour to the board. So let's go ahead and take it over to the counter. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put some flour out on my surface here. And I'm going to make sure that I get flour on my hands as well, so that the dough doesn't stick to it too bad while I'm kneading or getting it out of the bowl. It's going to be a little bit tacky. You just don't want it wet. And I like to keep one hand free while I'm doing this, just so that if I need to I will need to put a cup of flour beside the board, because it's obvious I'm probably going to have to add a little. I always do. But that's just by eyeballing it as well. Now, while I'm doing this, I'm going to go ahead and get my extra flour. I'm also going to prep a bowl for the dough to rise in once we're finished kneading. And how I'm going to prep that is I'm just going to add a little swirl. I'm using olive oil. So now I'm just going to work the dough. Until it's no longer sticky at all, and it's going to have a nice elasticity to it. You want it to where you can put your hands down on it, nothing sticks to your fingers. I just kind of move it around a little bit, feel the spots that might be still a little tacky. Okay, so I'm finished working with this dough. It has a nice elasticity to it. I can make an impression of my finger and it bounces back. So that's good. So I'm going to take my bowl that has a little bit of olive oil in it, and I'm going to drop my dough in, and then I'm going to flip it over so that there's oil on both sides. And then I'm going to go ahead and put it back into the oven. The oven is not turned on, just the oven light. And a lot of people just let it rise for 1 hour, but because I'm at a higher elevation, I let mine rise for 2. So here it is now. We'll go ahead and put it in the oven with the oven light on and come back in 2 hours. Okay, so our dough is out of the oven with just the oven light having been on, and it has risen till it is double in size. That's exactly what you want, it to be double in size. So I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to put some flour. And I'm just going to drop it and shape it and get that elasticity back. Now, while we're working with it this time, we're going to go ahead and put the pan at the top. So then that way we can kind of see the dimensions. And we're not going to work it really hard, just enough to get the elasticity back where it was kind of oily, and shape it out. And while I'm doing this, I have the oven preheating to 400 degrees. That's good. All right, so now we're going to take it from the long side in. I'm just going to tightly roll it. It's not going to be perfect, but you just want to roll it up as tightly as you can. Okay, now you can obviously see that it's longer than the pan edges, and that's okay, because what we're going to do, I mean, you don't want it to be a ton longer, but what we're going to do, you see you have these ends here like this from where we've been rolling it up, and we're going to take them and tuck them under. I do it just enough so it fits in the pan. And I just kind of shape it up a little bit. All right, I pick it up, put it in the pan, just like this. I'm gonna put the lid on it. I'm gonna let it set for about 30 more minutes and just to rise, get a good rise, and then we'll stick it in the oven. Okay, so when you're making sandwich bread in a Pullman pan, you do not leave it to cool in the pan. You want to turn it out immediately after taking it out of the oven, so you want to be really careful. Look at that. Got a little bit dark there. That is beautiful. See how it looks turned out. It is hot. Came out of a 500 degree oven. I mean, excuse me, 400. And I left it in there to bake for 30 minutes. And there it is. See the top? Side is perfectly shaped for sandwich bread. You can see where the ends were folded in right there. And then the bottom is perfectly squared off. So let this cool a little bit. Slice into it with a bread knife. Don't force it. It's hard to wait. Let's see if I can get a little piece off here. Let your bread knife do the work. Don't push it or force it. I should let it cool a little bit, but it's hard to have patience with fresh bread. All right, has a beautiful crumb on it. This is the heel piece. I'm gonna put some butter on that and it is gonna be great. Some butter on this. Gosh, that just looks so good. And be good to yourself. If you're using real butter, enjoy. There's nothing like it. Give it a try and let me know how it works out for you. So thank you for joining me up here on Rugged Mountain Homestead today, baking bread, and knowing that you can put one in the freezer for later. You can do anything you would do with regular sandwich bread that you would buy from the store, but you have the peace of mind knowing that there are no artificial flavors, colors, preservatives. It is just your basic ingredients, and you don't have to worry about it, and you're not going to have a problem eating it up before it goes bad. So thank you for being up here with me today, and until next time, take care.